Welcome everyone. My name is Elaine Turner. I am the director here at Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum. We call this house Slave Haven because it was a haven. It was a safe place for enslaved Africans who were escaping to freedom on the Underground Railroad. We are going to learn today about codes of freedom. It was very dangerous for enslaved Africans to communicate their plans for escaping to freedom. So they had to devise very ingenious methods of escape. And we're going to learn some of those codes today as to how they communicated with one another in order to escape to freedom. Now, underground simply means secret. Railroad, it just stops along the way, and places like this house, Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum. So these were secret hiding places. So this is an Underground Railroad location. So what are some of those secret methods of communication? Now in Africa, Africans could communicate with one another from one village to the other. Now, they had no telephones during that time, so they communicated by using drums. This is called a talking drum. The beats of this drum actually relate to words. And this was a secret language, so this was a code that they used in Africa. When they arrived here in the United States as enslaved Africans, they wanted to escape from slavery, so they used these drums to communicate with one another, and they could escape to freedom. After many years, the slave masters figured out that they were using the drums, so they outlawed drums in the United States. They couldn't play drums anymore. But of course, that didn't deter them from their escape plans. They devised other methods of escaping. For example, they used songs. We call these songs Negro spirituals, and we sing them in churches. Songs like "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home." So that song is really coded. It has messages in it. Swing means run. Low means high. Chariot is their mode of transportation. Coming for to carry me home. Home is a code word for freedom. Now there's another song you might have heard called "Wade in the Water." Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Now let's see the codes in that song. When you're running away, you should always go through some water, because when you go through the water, that will wash the scent and the tracks away, and the dogs cannot pick up your scent in the water. So why did they use these religious songs when they were not religious songs at all? Because the only time that the slave master would allow them to have any kind of gathering on the plantation was for a church service. So they would pretend that they were having church. Now, the quilts that you see here are also codes on the Underground Railroad. Your great-great-grandmothers more than likely had quilts. They used those quilts a few nights, and she would not put them in a wash tub and scrub them. She would hang them on the clothesline. It's called airing the quilts. During slavery, enslaved Africans would use these quilts as codes. They're actually codes that they had already knew from Africa. And they would hang these quilts on the clothesline and communicate about running away. Now there are many codes in this quilt code system, so they would hang out one quilt at a time on a clothesline. You learn that code, you do what it says. After it is hung out for several days, then a second quilt is hung up, and another and another. And they could learn how to escape to freedom. Now, you see these beautiful quilts here, and they have special meaning. There is a narrative that goes along with it that tells them exactly what to do, that is associated with each quilt pattern. For instance, we see a wagon wheel here. That's your mode of transportation. Each one of them has specific meanings of what to do, when to do it, and in order to make your way to freedom. Now, this one says flying geese. That means runaway slaves. Stay on the drunkard's path and follow the star. That would be the North Star. That's a North Star quilt that you see behind me here. The North Star would lead them to Canada. That was their destination, to Canada. So they wanted to go to Canada. So they would follow the North Star so that they could keep going north to Canada. So each one of these quilt patterns are very specific in telling them what to do and how to escape and without being caught. So this is what these kinds of patterns are actually all about. Now, some of you young ladies have beautiful braids in your hair. This is part of African culture and African hairstyles. The intricate designs have special meaning too. Those were secrets. It would tell you which way to travel, how you can maneuver and evade the slave catchers. Sometimes they would put rice in their braids when they were escaping. That means they're going to be able to eat. They can cook their rice to eat. So in preparation for escaping to freedom, they would learn all of these things before they left the plantation, so that they would know what to do when they encountered any obstacle along the way. So this is just a few of the codes that they used as they were escaping to freedom on the Underground Railroad. There were many, many more. For instance, this house belonged to Jacob Burkle. He would have been called an abolitionist. The abolitionists had codes. They knew some of these codes as well. The Quakers were a group of people who were opposed to slavery. They called their members friends. So a code, if someone was approaching someone who was an abolitionist and who was more than likely a Quaker, they would knock on the door and they would be told to say, "I'm a friend of a friend." That lets them know that this is someone who is knows the codes, who knows that this is the person that is going to help them. The person at the home knows that this is a person that they can receive. That's just another one. There are just so many of them. We will never know all of these hidden codes that the enslaved Africans used in escaping to freedom. Tens of thousands of enslaved Africans were able to get all the way to Canada by way of the Underground Railroad and using these codes to freedom.